Now, probably most of you knife lovers have at least one big chopper in your collection. Why, you may ask? Because they're freaking awesome, that's why. But I bet you don't have any like this, the Brisa Bigmuk. Just take a teeny weeny Nessmuk design and then explode it into this monster. But it's not all candy canes and unicorns, because I got a few issues.
Oh no, why are you doing this to me? I want to love you.
So let's dive in and see what the capabilities are, but also what limitations exist. And if you're new to the channel, I'm Aaron, and this is Gideon's Tactical. Thanks for joining me. Let's dive in. Now, I'm not sure if that 19th century outdoorsman George Washington Sears had the idea in his mind that a few centuries later, the Finns would take his ideas and then grow it into a 9.5-inch blade. And make sure to stay tuned, because it will be going head to head against the Becker BK9 and Essie Hunglis. Now, outside of the unique Nessmuk styling, we got some unique design characteristics. First off, this is full tank constructed at 0.16 or 4 millimeters thick, which is about 5/32 thinner than a lot of other big machetes and choppers that you may find being produced in the modern era. That means that it's pretty lightweight and nimble in the hand, being 17 ounces as is, and then with the sheath, it's 22 ounces total. Secondly is that 80 CRV2 steel. Now, I've started using that in more and more blades, and I've really fallen in love with it. It's a unique high carbon steel in that it can have a high Rockwell and keep excellent toughness for a carbon steel. Obviously, on most blade steels, the harder the steel gets on the Rockwell scale, the more prone to snapping and breaking the steel becomes. This, in some almost mythical way, can have that higher Rockwell, meaning that the edge retention is better than many other 1095s, 5160, that type of steel, but it will be tougher at that higher Rockwell. So that is an excellent attribute. Just like in the 19th century, having the proper skills and equipment is vital to having a successful adventure and coming back home safely to friends and family. And that's why I have my satellite communicator from Zoleo with me every time I go out to explore. And like all of us these days, I was looking for performance but at a good value in my satellite communicator, and that's why I landed on Zoleo. It checks so many of those performance boxes by first and foremost having industry-leading progressive SOS capability that will communicate with global rescue, which will respond worldwide 24/7 using the Iridium satellite network. And piggybacking off of that global Iridium satellite coverage, you're able then to message worldwide with a dedicated SMS number and email address, which is shareable, recognizable for us here in North America. And with it being compact, ruggedly built, and lightweight, it's easy to carry into the backcountry for days at a time. I've experienced excellent battery life, and those are just highlights in the performance arena. Then we flip over to value, and that's where it really shines. Kicking things off for only $20 a month with the basic plan, followed up by the In Touch plan at $35 a month, and then going ultimate with the unlimited at $50 a month. And so guys, I'll have a link in the description box below this video over to the Zoleo website so that you can explore all the different options and capabilities that this satellite communicator offers, as well as my exclusive promo code that will waive the $40 activation fee. So I encourage you, go check them out so that you can have that extra layer of security and ability to reach out for help if an emergency ever arises, so that you can keep going on those adventures for years and years to come. Now, the grind is a low Scandi grind with a secondary bevel. It reminds me a lot of my loved SP8 from Ontario. But with many blades like that Ontario, because it's thicker and just that style of edge geometry, oftentimes they're not great at removing material, doing finer carving, feather sticks to help you start a fire. That is not the case with this, partly because of edge geometry, because it's an actual Scandi and not a saber or flat grind, and because of the thinner stock, all working together made it very easy for me to get feather sticks going. It really reminded me of my Moras and a lot of those other Scandinavian Scandi ground blades. Was a dream and will outperform a lot of large machetes like this on the finer work. And then because of the over 9 inches of blade length, you're able to really get huge sweeps and remove massive amounts of material, which is with each stroke. And because of the style of grind, it bites in really easily and is able to remove that type of material. So carving, shaping of wood, those activities are easily done. And when it comes to chopping and impacting wood to remove limbs, branches, biting into wood with those swings that a blade like this you would expect it to be able to do, the blade operates a lot like an axe just because of that type of grind and the lower geometry than say like a full flat or a high saber would, which means that it takes chunks out of wood, meaning that it's able to remove more material with each impact than other blades with different grinds. Now, some people don't enjoy batoning as much with low grinds like this, but I actually don't mind it at all. It works more like a wedge than some of your other blades might. So the sheath is an excellent attribute to the design. Really nice, high quality leather. The knife goes most of the way down. It's pretty easy to pull out. You could obviously wet mold it and form it if you wanted a little snugger. Good stitching all the way around. Nice little hole right in there that you could run a leather or paracord strap to lash it to your thigh, which if you are trekking with this, like hiking, and you are gonna attach it on the dangler, I would do that. I mean, it's a big, you know, knife slapping around, but it has two options. You can either do that dangler or a more high ride secondary loop right there if you didn't want quite as much play with that. So, I mean, zero complaints with that sheath. Very, very nice leather. So before we hit the handle, ergonomics, some of my sticking points, and really how does it compete with the SE Hungalis and BK9, let's talk pricing and competitive options and the value point. And if you enjoy content like this, I invite you to hit that like button and consider subscribing and become part of the Gideon's Tactical family. Make sure to hit that bell icon so that you can be notified every week when I put up new videos to help you better stay equipped and prepared for all of life's adventures. Now, this is going to go in US dollars between $230 and $250. Depends on where you pick it up, and obviously exchange rates over in Europe may vary. But if you're going to pick this up in the US, that's what you're going to pay for. And for, you know, finish made leather sheath, 80 CRV2, the curly birch handle that we're about to talk about, all that. You know, there's the fit and finish. You know, the grinding seems really well done. All of that. It's pretty competitive with what else you would find with 80 CRV2. And just a little bit more expensive than the SE Hungalis, which I think now is pushing $200. So if you can find it for that $230, you're only paying about $30 more. An 80 CRV2, in my experience, seems to be a little bit tougher and hold its edge longer than the 1095 that's on this Hungalis. And when we look at the stock BK9, it's about $130 currently on Amazon, but I don't like it stock at all. And so if you were to upgrade it into a Kydex sheath, there are options available for about $70 that you can just get like plug and play Kydex. So now we're easily at $200. And then if we go with my card scales, like what I got here, we're easily about $40 to $50 more. So we're right there at about like $230 to $250 if you go and trick out a BK9. And so throughout this video, I will have links in the description box below, not only over to the Bigmuk, but also to the SE Hungalis and the BK9 with all the trick out options available. That'll be in the description box below. And I do appreciate Brisa sending this Bigmuk over to me to be able to test out and review for you guys, show you what the capabilities are and what we're about to see. As always, I'm honest and, you know, giving you guys pros and cons, some of the limitations in designs. And now to the part I'm struggling with. It's this handle. Now, at first glance, we're looking at some really cool attributes. Red liners that pop, obviously full tang, pinned in, stabilized curly birch. So just beautiful to look at. Elegantly done, no lips. I mean, it's so ergonomic. And it's at just over 6 inches long. It's a long handle to be able to give you multiple grips with, and it's not blocky. So it's nice and contoured. You can choke up here, and I could get really good control close to the blade. No need for a choil, just in the way the knife is designed. I didn't feel like I wanted a choil where I usually would on a blade of this size. So that was great. The one issue that I have on the front end here is this guard. Hopefully you guys can see that right there. It's a little guard, but it is like painfully sharp at that transition, and the sides are not machined. or rounded in any way. So it didn't bite too often, but every once in a while I might kind of get up and it's just so abrupt and it just kind of looks rough. So if that had just been rounded or even just brought into like a natural guard, and then these little sides, because your finger's like right up on it when you're choking up and doing, fine work. And you can see it's almost like two different handles. You have this kind of narrower grip up here and it goes up and then doesn't really taper back down and swells out. So you have like the secondary grip. So front grip, totally fine. No real issues outside of just that goofiness with the guard a little bit. And then right here in the center feels really good for light hacks, taking down branches that are like the thickness of your finger, maybe your thumb, just really quick hacks, shaping wood, no problems there. Then we come back here to the pommel.
So I feel like I'm up here and I'm holding, and the knife comes out like this, and then this little nub definitely doesn't feel good on the back of the hands. Like my finger is numb back here.
In the way the blade rocks in and it transfers shock into this super abrupt reverse bird beak. You can see how abrupt it is, and all the edges are not milled. No. Oh, guys, this is brutal. I'm getting all kinds of shock. It's so slick. And that sharp angle right there is just biting in. Oh, it's so sad because the blade and how it bites is amazing. Oh, man. Oh. Oh, yeah, man, it's just right there. You immediately slip to right there, and then it's so abrupt. It's just like already heating up my ring finger really badly. So I'm gonna fashion a batoning club out of this piece of wood. We'll try this Bigmuk, this Brisa, on like lighter tasks. Just kind of shaping the handle right now. So light stuff, I'm not feeling it moving around. Just when you're really hamming on it, really going after stuff. But like light shaping, yeah, not bad at all. It's only when you really start, that it just like within a swing or two, can't handle it. I mean, it does this shaping like so well. I love this style. This is excellent. The way the spine is, and being able to just put your hand up here gives you a lot of leverage. It doesn't fatigue your hand. I'm digging that. That feels real good. All right, now we can start using it as a baton. And I just want to kind of highlight just the difference here. Here's the SPORTSMANS. You can see how much more gradual and how it kind of faces straight down. So it's almost like a 90-degree angle from the blade. And it's just very rounded, contoured, and not abrupt. You can see how much more abrupt and angled and sharp that transition is, and it's reverse pointing back towards your hand. I know the idea was to keep it in place, but I'd almost rather just have like a completely removed straight off handle, and that wouldn't have been an issue, or just a more gradual contour facing slightly backwards, more natural to the grip of your hand. Just to show us, compared to the Becker BK9, same concept. Nice and rounded, contoured, not sharp and abrupt, and kind of ends up transitioning straight down at a 90 from the blade versus, again, the Bigmuk. Now, I did have high hopes for the chopping capability of a tool of this size, and didn't quite reach those. So that is, disappointing. I'm just gonna be honest with you on that front. Now, does that mean it's a total pass on? Absolutely not. Though ergonomically for chopping, I'd prefer the BK9. If you were to ask me to do finer work, the balance and blade geometry on the Bigmuk easily outsurpasses all the finer work that a BK9 could do. And even though the SPORTSMANS is competitive in the edge geometry with that higher grind to be able to do feather sticks and finer work easier than the BK9 can, and it can chop and be more comfortable than the Bigmuk, the balance point, again, it just comes down to the way that they designed this handle. Just giving us a handle style like on this smaller Nesmuk is really the saving grace of the tool, and makes it this interesting, very capable in almost every other aspect except for the massive chopping. So if you are going to be using it more as like a fro and be able to do a lot of woodscraft tasks with, that's where I could definitely see it having still a lot of capability in your tool rotation. But I look forward to hearing from you guys. What is your feeling on this design, particularly those of you that own them, because I know several of you do and have been encouraging me to pick one of these up. What's been your experience and whether or not you see value in it? I always appreciate your guys' comments, your valuable time coming over here today and checking out this video and seeing what the Bigmuk is capable of. I encourage you to check out the other video popping up, and again, to subscribe if you haven't yet. And until next time, always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared, and I'll see you out there.